Okay, let's talk about greatness. You know, we've all looked at someone at the absolute peak of their profession, a musician, an athlete, a brilliant CEO, and we've all had that same thought. Wow, they were just born for this. But what if that whole idea, that entire concept of natural talent, is actually the biggest myth holding us all back? Well, today we're going to tear that myth apart and uncover the real, science-backed secret to what makes people truly great. You know, this idea isn't some new age thing. It's ancient. We're talking ancient Greece, where poets like Homer literally believed that greatness was breathed into someone by the gods. And think about it, we still use that exact same language today, don't we? We say someone has a gift. It's this romantic idea that a few lucky people are just chosen for greatness, and the rest of us, well, we just weren't in line when the gifts were handed out. But let me ask you this. What if believing in innate talent is really just a convenient excuse? It's a really comfortable way to explain our own limitations, right? I mean, if greatness is some magical gift and we don't have it, then we're totally off the hook. We can just accept being pretty good at what we do because, hey, it's not in our control anyway. So let's start dismantling this idea, piece by piece. First up, we're going to go head-to-head with the myth of natural talent, and we're going to use some of the most famous geniuses we all think we know. Okay, let's start with the poster child for natural genius himself, Mozart, the Miracle of Salzburg. We have this image of him as a little kid, just effortlessly scribbling down symphonies. But you know, modern scholarship tells a completely different story. One expert actually calls him a working stiff. And get this, his first 4 piano concertos, they had 0 original music in them. He just arranged other composers' work. The truth is, Mozart became Mozart because he worked furiously hard for years and years. And this is just a brilliant example of how our idea of great changes over time. So back in 1878, Tchaikovsky writes his violin concerto, and the best violinist on the planet calls it unplayable. Impossible! But today, it's a standard piece for students graduating from places like Juilliard. Now think about that. The music is exactly the same. The violin is the same. So what changed? We did. We figured out how to get way, way better. It just proves that human potential isn't some fixed ceiling. It's a bar that keeps getting raised. Okay, so if it's not some magic gift, then it's gotta be experience, right? I mean, just do a job for 20 years and you'll become an expert. Simple. Well, the research shows something that's not just surprising, but frankly a little bit scary. So check this out. This finding seems completely backward. You'd think that the longer you do a job, the better you get. But for a lot of professionals, skill can actually plateau or, get this, even decline. Studies have shown that, on average, doctors with more years of experience actually score lower on medical knowledge tests. They get worse at certain diagnoses over time. Researchers call this the experience trap. It turns out just showing up for a long time doesn't make you better. You might actually be getting worse. So, what does matter? Well, a huge clue comes from this landmark study of violin students in Berlin. Researchers split them into 3 groups: the good, the better, and the best. Now look at this chart. By the time they were 12 years old, the top group was practicing 2 hours a day, and the lowest group, 15 minutes. That is an 800% difference. The hours really, really matter. And here is the absolute kicker. The researchers scoured their data, looking for the naturals. You know, the kids who made it into that top group without putting in all those hours. They were looking for the shortcuts. And you know how many they found? 0. A big fat 0. Not a single one. There was absolutely no fast track to the top. But, and this is the most important part, it's not just about logging hours. It's about a very, very specific type of work. And this, right here, brings us to the absolute heart of it. This is the secret ingredient, the thing that separates the truly world-class performers from everybody else. It's a concept called deliberate practice. So what exactly is it? Well, the researchers define it as a lifelong effort to improve. This isn't just going through the motions. It's not mindlessly hitting tennis balls against a wall for an hour. This is practice with a purpose. It's systematic. It's designed to target your specific weaknesses, all with one simple goal in mind: getting better. All right, let's break it down. There are basically 5 rules. 1, it's got to be designed to push you just outside your comfort zone, into what they call the learning zone. 2, you have to be able to repeat it a lot. 3, you need constant, honest feedback. You know, practicing without feedback is like bowling with a giant curtain in front of the pins. You hear a sound, but you have no idea what you're doing right or wrong. 4, it has to be mentally exhausting. This is not autopilot time. It demands total focus. And 5, and this is the tough one, it's not very fun. Think about it. We love doing what we're already good at. Deliberate practice is the exact opposite. It's about systematically finding your weaknesses and grinding away at them. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? The legendary violin teacher Leopold Auer, yep, the same guy who first called Tchaikovsky's piece unplayable, he used to tell his students, practice with your fingers and you need all day. Practice with your mind and you will do as much in 1.5 hours. It's all about the quality of that focus, not just the sheer quantity of time you put in. So, what's the payoff for all this grueling work? Well, it does way more than just build your skill level. It fundamentally changes your brain. It actually alters how experts see and process the world around them. You know, we have this common idea that experts are so good they can just do their thing on autopilot, right? Well, the research shows the exact opposite is true. Novices are the ones on autopilot. True experts have trained themselves to avoid doing things automatically. Their performance is always conscious, always controlled. They don't just see what's right in front of them. They see the deeper patterns. They don't just react to what's happening. They anticipate what's going to happen next. I mean, think about a professional tennis player returning a 150-mile-an-hour serve. We just assume they have superhuman reflexes. But they don't. Their reaction time is pretty much the same as yours or mine. So what's their secret? It's superior perception. Over thousands of hours, they've trained their brains to read tiny, almost invisible cues in their opponent's body, the turn of a shoulder, the height of the ball toss, that tell them where the ball is going. They're basically seeing the future, just a split second before it happens. Okay, so this is all fascinating stuff, but let's bring it home. Let's talk about the most important question of all. How can we actually use these principles in our own lives, in our jobs, and to chase our own goals? Because this is really where the rubber meets the road. Understanding this isn't just some interesting trivia. It's a real toolkit for changing your own life's trajectory. So yeah, I'm talking to you. What does this mean for you starting right now? All right, here's your game plan. First, find your learning zone. What's a skill that's just a little bit out of your reach right now? Go after that. Second, find a source of brutally honest feedback. A coach, a mentor, even just recording yourself on your phone. Don't blow through a curtain. Third, practice metacognition. That's a fancy word for thinking about your own thinking. The best performers are constantly observing themselves. Fourth, don't just do your job. Find ways to turn parts of it into practice. And finally, make deep knowledge of your field a direct goal, not just something you hope to pick up along the way. And so that brings us to the final and maybe the most important question. What do you really believe you're capable of? Because once you let go of the idea that greatness is a gift for a chosen few, and you realize that it's actually the result of a long, deliberate, strategic process, well, that changes everything. The limits you thought you had, they might just be illusions. The real question is, what are you willing to do to find out?